How you doing, guys? Grant Stone here, founder at Blam, and I'd like to welcome you all to the Blam Partners Inner Circle, and also posting a couple of the platforms today, because the subject matter that I'm covering today is a generic subject and something that is really appropriate if you are a budding entrepreneur or somebody who's running your own business, somebody that is looking for what can seem like the ever elusive success. And success is a very broad term, isn't it? It's something that a lot of people would associate, especially in the entrepreneurial world, with money and financials. But there's a lot more to success than just how much money you earn, because ultimately, a lot of the time, the reason we are looking to achieve success in business is so that we can have a lifestyle that's going to make us happy. And for those of you that may have seen the event that we did, the business boot camp, I talked in a lot more detail about that subject, about the definition of success. But for this shorter presentation, for Blam Partners in particular as well, I just wanted to remind you of some of the traits that super successful people have, because it's something that's always fascinated me, the way that some people can achieve success. And from in some instances you might look at it and it seems like they do it effortlessly, and they achieve success a lot easier. And then for other people, success just seems elusive, and even though they appear to be trying really hard and working, doing the things that they're supposed to achieve the success that they desire. And this has always fascinated me, because it just seems quite unfair, doesn't it? And you can see lots of people blaming all sorts of different situations about the lack of their success. Now, I have studied this for a long time. I've read so many books, and I've interviewed dozens and dozens of people about it. I talk to friends that are successful, and it is something that really fascinates me, because my core job is to help people that join the Blam Partnership Program run a successful business. And for me to understand the reasons why some people achieve better results than others is really important to my own success, because if Blam Partners are successful, then Blam as a business becomes more successful. And we've got better and better at this over the years, and to the extent where it now becomes much easier for me to identify the traits that somebody is exhibiting that are going to help them become successful, and also the traits that they exhibit that are going to hold them back. And there's a book that I absolutely adore, and those of you that want to look back in the history, I've done a whole presentation all about my archive of books and all the different books that I recommend on your entrepreneurial journey. But there's one book that I would say is my it's certainly in my top three books, and it's one that I listen to on Audible regularly. So I go back to it regularly, and there's one chapter that I absolutely love in the book, because it really does a fantastic job of defining the characteristics of successful people. And I think it is absolutely vital that anybody that is on their entrepreneurial journey listens to that chapter. I mean, you should listen to the entire book, but that one chapter should motivate you to understand what you're letting yourself in for when you are aspiring to be a successful entrepreneur, because it really nails it. Now, the book is The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, and the chapter is chapter 22. Now, there are, within that chapter, just looking now, 32 traits of successful people. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I want to pick out some of my favorites. And in particular, if you're a budding entrepreneur, if you're a Blam partner, if you're looking to set up your own business, or you're in the early stages, or maybe you're a business owner that is hitting a bit of a brick wall, or you've plateaued, or you're struggling, this chapter will remind you of what you need to do in order to achieve success. And I like listening to this regularly. Now, the number one is probably, it's up there as one of the most important ones. It's number one for a reason. And it is, have a can-do attitude. And this is so key to being successful, is being the kind of person that people go to because they know that they can rely on you because you're going to get it done. And having that can-do attitude, that inner mindset of knowing that you're going to be able to get stuff done, is so, so important. Because when you look at the opposite, and if I flip the coin on this, and it doesn't go into this in the book, if you look at the people that aren't successful, they're often the people that are like, I can't do that. No, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. That negativity is going to hold them back. Having a can-do attitude, being the person that steps up and goes, yeah, I can do that. I'm going to get it done. Even if you're not even sure yourself, that positive mindset, that attitude of getting it done, I see it in so many super successful people, and they sometimes they achieve the impossible. When you look at your super successful heroes, they do stuff you think, how the hell did they do that? They believed in themselves. They had that can-do attitude. So number one, if you're running a business, you're thinking of running a business, you've got to have that can. You've got to know you're going to do it. Okay. Love challenges. Now, this is tied into that can-do attitude. If you're going to be super successful, you're going to have to overcome challenges. You're going to have to challenge yourself to achieve things that are above the norm. Because the reason being super successful has such kudos is because not everybody can do it. Not everybody can overcome the challenges that you face on the road to success. If you didn't have to face any challenges, there would be no value in success. Everybody would be super successful. So learn to embrace the challenges. So when you see a challenge that you know that you've got to overcome in order to achieve that next level, love that challenge, embrace it. Be thankful that the challenge is presented to you, because if you've got that can-do attitude, you'll know you're going to get past the challenge, and you'll know that you're going to get that bit closer to that success that you're after. Now, here's a really good one. And everybody in business knows this. You've got to take risks. Now, that doesn't mean you've got to be, dangerous, but you do need to take risks. Everybody that starts a business took a risk typically to get there. They either risked their money, their time, they risked their potential, other stuff that they had going on. They took a risk to start a business. I remember when I started my business, I took a risk. I handed in the notice of my full-time job. I gave my car keys to my car that I loved, that company car. I remortgaged my house, and I took that money and I rented an office. I bought a computer, and I started my design agency. And that was a huge, huge risk. But I had a can-do attitude, and I knew I needed to work like a maniac to get it done, and I made it happen. But it was a risk. If you want to be a super successful entrepreneur, you're going to have to take risks. Now, if you're one of those people watching this that hasn't started your business yet, how long have you been saying you're going to start your business? How long have you been putting it off? I remember I put it off for loads longer than I should have done because I was worried about the risk. But once you take that risk as an entrepreneur, you've got to keep taking risks, because fortune favors the bold. Some of those risks are going to pay off. Some of those risks aren't going to pay off, but you've got to keep moving forward, and you take calculated risks as an entrepreneur multiple times a week. It's part of the territory, but you've got to understand that. You've got to understand the difference between somebody who's super successful and somebody who isn't, is somebody who's taken those calculated risks and failed, no doubt, many times along the way. Really, really, really important. Now, here's one that Grant Cardone talks about a lot, and I really like the philosophy behind this. And he says, be unreasonable. Now, most of us think that's a bit mad, don't they? You know, to be unreasonable, but you've got to be unreasonable in your goals. You've got to be unreasonable in the way that you go about your expectations. You've got to be unreasonable in terms of the way that you achieve your success, because if you just do everything in a nice, reasonable manner, you're just like, you're part of, you know, the everyday people, and to be super successful, you've got to be a level above. So you have to be unreasonable with your expectations, be unreasonable with the amount of effort that you put in, be unreasonable with the amount that you get done, because that is what super successful people are all about. Right, here's a brilliant one. Focus on now. So important. The epidemic and the disease that humanity faces is procrastination and putting things off. As my granddad used to say to me years ago, never put something off till tomorrow that can be done today. Grant Cardone says, do it now. Focus on what you can get done right this minute. You know, the present is a gift. Make it happen. So whenever you are looking at your to-do list, whenever you are looking at the way that you are planning your time, always ask yourself, what can I get done now? I tell you where this crops up for me on a regular basis, and I remember this this morning on my drive into work. I'm driving and I'm thinking, what can I get done now? Who can I call? Who can I send a message to? Because even though I'm driving, I know I can multitask. What can I get done now? Because every second of the day is valuable, and you want to focus on now to make sure you get stuff done. And what can happen is we don't notice that we naturally procrastinate and put things off. So, you know, so often I'll hear people say, brilliant, okay, let's have a meeting next week and let's get it in the diary for next week or the week after, or I'm going to leave it till the end of the year. Why? Ask yourself, what can you get done now? Here's a little tip that I teach the guys that I'm coaching. When you're in a meeting, it could be a Google Meet, it could be a Teams meeting or whatever it might be, what can you actually get done in that meeting, rather than having a to-do list that you have left over at the end of the meeting? So what I always try and do, if I'm in a meeting and if and something crops up that needs doing, I try and get it done in that meeting so that it can get tied down, done, and we can move on and get something else done. In other words, the more jobs that you leave yourself at the end of the meeting, the more time you're going to waste, and you could end up, you know, so, and usually I'm talking about little things like, you know, booking another appointment or sending an email to somebody, or it might be, you know, taking a look at something on the internet and making a decision, or it could be, you know, some sort of collaborative conversation. But try and get the stuff done in the meeting, as opposed to making the meeting something that then ends up needing another meeting afterwards because of the things that have been decided in the meeting. That's one of the things that I see in corporate life all the time. People get this sort of habit of having a meeting about a meeting about a meeting. You've just got to get stuff done. Focus on the now. Now, this is one I post on my Instagram. And by the way, guys, anybody that is on Instagram, if you follow GrantStayIncome, which is my Instagram page, I post on there daily. I put a story on, and it's when I post, really, I'm just looking to try and inspire budding entrepreneurs, inspire other BLAM partners and entrepreneurs, and you know, take them on that journey. And this is one that I posted this morning, actually, and it was demonstrate courage. You know, you've got to demonstrate the courage. You know, you've got to have the convictions of your aspirations to get to where you want to be successful. You have got to demonstrate courage. It goes back to that taking risks. You know, you've got to be courageous in what you do. You've got to be disciplined enough to take that action that makes you feel uncomfortable. So many times you will be faced with things that are going to make you feel uncomfortable, and you end up procrastinating or putting it off. You know, and all these things tie in together. That focusing on the now, a lot of that time it will mean doing stuff that will make you feel uncomfortable, that will need you to demonstrate courage in order to take that action. And, there's a little thing that I do every single morning to try and remind myself of this. One of my old coaches a few years ago sort of recommended that I did this. And every single morning, I take a cold shower, usually for a minute. Sometimes I'll take, if I'm at the gym, I'll take a 4-minute ice bath. But that is an uncomfortable thing to do. And when I'm there, I just remind myself the reason I do it is to say, you've got to be courageous. You've got to put yourself outside your comfort zone. You've got to start to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And because I've been doing this for a few years now, when I have a cold shower in the morning, I don't really think twice about it. Sometimes I hesitate and think, but I get it done every single day. It is habit to remind myself, you've got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You've got to get comfortable with being courageous. Really, really important. Okay. I love this one. And there's 20 and 21 is be goal orientated and be on a mission. And I see those two things really combined, because when you are goal orientated, and you've got to write your goals down every day, guys, you've got to take out your book, you've got to write down your goals, just like I do every day. I brought this one to work today because I didn't finish off doing my goals this morning, so I brought it to work to finish it off. And every day I write down my goals over and over again. There's my big goal, and this is every single day. I'm writing down my goals, and I've got the personal goals on one side, and I've got books and books and books of these, because this is what gets written every day. Because you've got to be goal orientated, because we want to pre-program our minds to understand exactly what we are aiming for and exactly where we want to go. And you don't want to be that rudderless boat. You've got to know exactly what you're doing, because being goal orientated helps you do a lot of this other stuff. The stuff about being courageous, about, taking action, about, focusing on now. All of this stuff can be driven by you understanding exactly why you're doing it. And you're doing it because the goals that you've committed to need to be achieved with a deadline and with that moving forward action. So I'm on a mission. I want those 1 million websites. That is my goal. That is my big audacious goal. In order to get there, I've got all my other little goals that I achieve each year to get me that bit closer to that mission. So you've got to be on a mission, and you've got to define that mission, and then the goals will help you get there. Really, really important. And that ties into number 24. Have big goals and dreams. Big goals and dreams. There's that famous old saying, and it's really true, shoot for the stars, and if you don't hit the stars, you'll hit the moon. But if you're only ever aiming for the top of that building, you're not going to get anywhere near the moon. So set big, audacious goals. Understand what it is that would be the absolute ideal scenario for you, that big, audacious goal, and set that as the target. Because, we may not get to exactly where we want to be, but one thing is for sure, if we set it as the target, we're going to get a lot closer than if we set ourselves with, these modest, small little goals that don't inspire us, they don't motivate us. But this is all about the repetition that goes into understanding that every single one of these little things is another little boost that takes that bit closer to ultimately reaching your big, audacious goal. It's really, really, really important, the big, audacious goal. And then, now I love this one. Be highly ethical. Now, I don't know what it is about our society, but there always seems to be such a lot of publicity around people that achieve what appears to be success in a non-ethical way. So the criminal types that appear to have all this sort of success and wealth, etc., and they've achieved it by nefarious means. Now, for me, those guys aren't successful. Those guys, they may have earned a lot of money, but you can't be truly successful, because successful means you've got the complete package, because they're not going to be able to sleep well at night. They're going to be always looking over their shoulder. They're going to have worries about, whether it's ever going to catch up with them. and they usually end up falling from grace as a result. So put that away from your mind. In over and over again, super successful people that I've met are some of the nicest people, most generous people I have ever met. And they can be charming, and they can be, really generous and giving, both, on a personal level, but also from a philanthropic point of view as well. And I think that a lot of people that are, on the bottom rung of the ladder of success will look up and sort of see some of these people that get all the publicity that are proved to be unethical, and think that that's perhaps something that they need to do in order to get there. I promise you it is not. I promise you, being ethical is actually one of the key core attributes that you need to be in order to achieve success. Because I see it over and over again. When you dig under the bonnet of the people that are at the levels of success that we're looking for, the ones that don't necessarily make the headlines, the ones that you don't really hear of on a regular basis, they are ethical to the core, and they're really good people. And so that's something that's really, really important for me to emphasize. Always do the right thing, always be ethical. And I think honesty is another one to add into that, because a lot of people think, particularly if you're on the road to building a business and you're doing your own sales, there's this impression that if you're in sales, you've got to over exaggerate or tell lies or make stuff up in order to achieve that success. Absolutely not. There is always a way of painting the picture in a way that is appropriate and in accordance with being ethical, that doesn't have to have any kind of exaggeration or any kind of lies behind it. The more lies you tell, the more you're going to tie yourself in knots, and the more you're going to get caught out. And so another one my granddad always says to me, honesty is the best policy, all the time. And I was explaining this to somebody the other day, actually, because I said, years ago, I found out my memory is not good enough to tell lies. Because if I made stuff up when I was selling, I'd forget it and I'd end up getting caught out. So I make it an absolute point to be as honest as possible in everything I do. And I notice that trait in other people that are super successful. So really, really important. And then I've saved the best to last, because number 30, this list there's 32 on this list. So I've just cherry picked the ones that really resonate with me. But this one, you could argue, I've seen quite a few super successful entrepreneurs say that this one is the most important. So I think there's a good reason that this one is left to the end. Be disciplined. Discipline is absolutely key, because I guarantee in order to become successful, you're going to have to do repetitive tasks. You're going to have to do those repetitive tasks that you don't want to do. You're going to have to do a lot of things that require an amount of discipline that won't even feel like that you're, in some instances, you're not making progress. And if you haven't got an absolutely maniacal discipline to doing the things that help you move forward, because they're not showing to actually get you anywhere. And a good example of that would be, if you're applying a sales process and you're getting lots of people knock you back and you'll feel like you're not getting anywhere, you've got to have the discipline to keep going and keep doing those things over and over again. Because even though you might not be getting the results in terms of sales, what you are doing is you're building your business muscles. And each time you do it, you'll be refining it and getting better and better. And then all of a sudden, you'll knock the door down, and that discipline will have got you past, that roadblock that you had, that plateau, and you can break through, and then the discipline continues. Discipline is absolutely key. And Blam Partners, if you're watching this, we've got a formula that I guarantee you will achieve success with. But if you are not disciplined, if you are not maniacal with your processes and the systems and the things that we teach, repeat, you're going to find it 10 times harder, and you're going to find it much more difficult to achieve success. And you're going to achieve success much, much slower, if at all, discipline is absolutely fundamental to success, and I see it in all of the super successful entrepreneurs that I've studied and the people that I see, and the guys that I look at that I aspire to be like. I've got much better discipline than I have, and I'm still on that journey trying to achieve that kind of discipline, because discipline, fundamental. So I've just cherry picked those ones, guys, from the list, but the 10X Rule is a book that I highly recommend you read. What I love about it is it really nails down the super effort that you have to put into being successful. It really kind of encapsulates for me this work ethic and the attitude that you need to have in order to achieve success. Because as the 10X Rule says, being successful is going to be 10 times harder than you think it is. Just like we tell every BLAM partner when they join, it's going to be 10 times harder than you think it is, even though we give you, literally the systems, the processes on a plate. You've still got to apply it with all those traits that I said and all the ones that are in the book. And it will be a lot harder than you expect. But the good news is there's a reason for that, because if success was easy, it wouldn't have the kudos. We wouldn't be aspiring it to get to it. And with that one, guys, I'm going to leave you to ponder. I'll recommend downloading the book. Thank you for your time and attention. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care.